Cheers, everybody. So, today I want to talk about, why do bad sets, crappy sets go up over time? Even like Homelands. Go on YouTube, type in worst Magic the Gathering set ever, or weakest set ever. Homelands, right? Super underpowered, cards were weak, printed like crazy. How is it that today those boxes are $300 to $400, still the 3 to 4x a return, which, on an average 7% return rate should take, 20 years, right? So, in the next video I want to do, I'd love to talk to you all about the FOMO of Assassin's Creed. Like, what we saw, a retrospective, looking back on, hindsight is 2020, right? Talking about why it went all the way up and why it crashed so hard down. And, the artificial demand of FOMO that Wizards is sort of manufacturing and why it's working just a little bit. So let's talk about, the card game that we love, Magic. The average player and population of Magic cycles every 3 to 4 years. And we see this because just talk to some card owners and ask like how often do they see like new faces, right? Like a new group or new faces. Ask YouTubers who have analytics on their channel. How often do they show that people have consistently been subscribing? What's the average subscribe duration? And you'll see it's like 2 to 4 years. New people are constantly coming in. New people, old people leave, new people come in, and it just cycles over. Yeah, you have the occasional person that sticks there, sticks with it their whole life. But that's a minority. That's like the top 1%. On average, most of these people aren't really crazy about it. They just come in, visit, maybe come back in 10 years or so. For what I have seen, that cycle of constantly new players brings a perspective and a new view towards some of the sets that crashed the hardest that we don't that we see but they don't really see, which is actually good, right? Because we are biased, and when we have a really bad experience on a set, that we remember that bad experience for a long time. But when a new perspective comes in, they sort of take it at the face value. Homelands, right? Today people buy Homelands for $400, and to them it was never anything horrible. There was no overprinting. There was no crash. So you may think, okay, well, Dane, when I go to the game store, and I play with my friends, I've been there for like 5 years, 10 years, right? I don't see the 2 to 4 year cycle. That's because that you're talking about the top 1%, the people who are in the game stores, right? A lot of people just play online. It's sort of like an iceberg, where what we actually interact with and the people that we play with and we talk to, it's like the top of the iceberg. And then you got like the whole thing under the water, that we're totally, completely oblivious to, that people will never meet. And it sort of reminds me, like, when I used to play video games, right? I would spend like 10 hours a day playing and watching YouTube videos of what's the most optimal build. I was min-maxing everything. What's the most efficient way to do this? What are the best items? What are the top YouTubers doing, right? What are the development cycles? What are the developers thinking, and trying to predict like how the gameplay is going to change? And then I do all that and play for a few hours, using that research. And I would talk to people and I'd be like, wait, you don't know this YouTuber? You don't know the developers? Like, did you hear about that? What do you mean, you're just playing for fun, right? Like, I didn't realize that what I was doing was not normal. Right? And it's the same thing for Magic. The fact that you're here watching my YouTube channel means that you are a minority, right? The people who go into the game stores and play in the tournaments and play with their friends in the game stores are a minority. A lot of Magic happens at home with families. And it only happens for like 2 years for a lot of people, and then they forget about it. Maybe they come back in 10 years, or maybe they, play online another time, but it's a very cyclical. And there's just so many people in the world that's just how the cycle has been for the last 20 to 30 years. And so all this to say that even a weak and bad set like Adventures in the Forgotten Realms, right? This one. When it crashes, it cycles over, prices go back up to normalization, new players come in, they see Dungeons and Dragons, they don't know or even care about how the release went or how players felt at the time, because they're taking it at face value. What's in it now, and do I like the art style, right? Do I like Dungeons and Dragons? Am I a fan? Am I getting this for my collection because I know other people that like Dungeons and Dragons? And I think Dungeons and Dragons will continue for another 50 years, right? We just had the 50-year anniversary of Dungeons and Dragons. So it's pretty amazing. My neighbor, she's a little older, and she was telling me how the guy that she dated when she was young, he played Dungeons and Dragons. I was telling her about the post office thing. So, when I saw that the prices of Adventures of the Forgotten Realms and March of the Machines Aftermath, when I saw that they had crashed down to like $99, I got rabies, man. I was like, I need all the boxes. Give me all the boxes. I'll take one. I'll take two. I'll take two of these. And then the prices are still low because it's such a good opportunity when the market hates on something, because we can just see, 8 years from now, it's going to be okay. There'll be new players, new faces. More people will love Dungeons and Dragons. There'll just be more people on the earth. So there's bound to be more nerdy fans like us, right? So keeping things sealed has shown great opportunity in the long run, because if you wait long enough, all these negatives won't matter, right? The only thing that really matters is like set size, right? Smaller set sizes tend to take longer to recover because there's fewer cards in the set, which means, like, think of it like a mutual fund with fewer stocks, right? When there's fewer stocks, there's less diversification, so you have less coverage, which means the chances are lower that one of them is going to skyrocket. But if one of them does, it brings the whole price of the box up, right? And also, the actual cards, in all honesty, they don't even matter, because depending on your network, depending on, if you know other collectors and all that, they'll collect it not for the strength of the cards, but just to have one of each on a display shelf, right? Or just to have a story, or just to say, oh, I have a complete set, or I have one of each collector box. And collector box is a fairly new thing in Magic, given that Magic's been around for 30 years. So, there's so many things that we get emotional about, especially when a set releases. And I'll touch a little bit more on it on Assassin's Creed, that in the long run, really, it really doesn't matter. People will buy it regardless, just to say that they have one, and they have something from that time period, right? And maybe there are kids that see these now, 30 years from now, when they're making money, they buy it just for the nostalgia reasons, right? That's why Pokemon, we see Pokemon in schools today. What does that tell me? That tells me that Pokemon's good for another 30 years. Because when those kids are 30 years old and they have jobs and they're making money, guess what they're doing? They're buying Pokemon to relive those memories, relive that nostalgia, relive those memories with their parents or their friends. So that's all it tells me. It tells me we got a couple years left in the tank. So keeping them sealed, right? Keeping them in good condition. And then there's also a reason why people, grade Magic cards, grade Pokemon cards. Why are people grading $20 Pokemon cards, right? Well, it's just someone's opinion, right? Like when someone grades it, they do verify the authenticity, but they're just saying an opinion. Oh, I think it's a 10. I think it's a 9, right? It's really just like a racket. It's like a gang of nerds that set up this whole thing where it's like, oh, we have the final say, and if your card isn't a 10, it isn't worth anything, right? I'll adjust my glasses. It's a pay up, right? Give me your lunch money. I'm tired of getting my lunch money taken away. So this whole grading thing, yeah, it's a big racket, but it works. I mean, when people want to buy something and they're scared of something being fake, they go for the graded. And when they want to know that something's highest condition, they go for a PSA 10 because it's just easier to sell, right? People just trust it, even though its origins are debatable. So all this to say, even the hardest crashing sets, even the weakest sets, Homelands, just keep it sealed, right? And if you have some of the rarest pulls, get them graded and keep them. And even those sets, Adventures in the Forgotten Realms, March of the Machines, even they will see appreciation past their release price and distribution price. Have a good one, everyone.